Hello and welcome students. We are into the ninth lecture of the video tutorial of the subject machine design, whose subject code as per the curriculum of mechanical engineering department of Suresh Gyan Vihar University is ME303. I am Shri Krishna Mishra, assistant professor in the department of mechanical engineering, and let's first of all explore the lecture objectives of today's lecture. The objectives of today's lecture are: first is to understand the concept of fluctuating stresses. Then after, we will know about different types of fluctuating loads and stresses. And then after, due to fluctuating loads, the failure that occur is known as fatigue failure. So we will understand about that failure. And lastly, there is a limit or there is a value to which a material can sustain fluctuating load, that is known as endurance limit. We will have a deep understanding on that particular concept. So these are the lecture objectives of today's lecture. So let's move into the lecture now. Fluctuating stresses. See, till now, the external forces acting on a machine component were assumed to be static. They were assumed to be static. Static means what? If you draw a graph, static means if you draw a graph, between, if you draw a graph between the time, between time t and the stress value, then you will get a straight line. You will get a straight line like this. You will get a straight line. You will get a straight line. You will get a straight line like this. All right, means the stress value does not change with respect to time. The stress value is not changing with respect to time. All right, so such type of stress values were known as static stresses. Means the stresses which occur due to the static load which acting on the product or the component. Now, in many applications, the components are subjected to forces which are not static but vary in magnitude with respect to time. Means they are not of this nature as you are seeing here. They are not of a static nature. They are not constant in magnitude with respect to time. The stresses induced due to such forces, are known as static stresses. All right. It has been observed, students, it has been observed that 80% of failure of mechanical components are due to fatigue failure. 80% of failure that occur of the components is generally due to fatigue failure. And this fatigue failure is why this fatigue failure occurs? It occurs due to the fluctuating stress. This is the reason behind all the fatigue failure. Fatigue failure is occurring. Why? Fatigue failure is occurring due to the fluctuating load acting. Now, in practice, the pattern of stress variation is irregular and unpredictable. We can't predict the pattern of fluctuation. It is very irregular and unpredictable. For the purpose of design analysis, simple models for stress time relationships are used. So if the stress value is not constant with respect to time, it is changing with respect to time, and also this change is irregular and unpredictable. Therefore, still for the design analysis we will have to choose some simple model for stress time relationship. We will have to choose some simple model for stress time relationship. So the model which is used, the most popular model which is used is the sine curve. Means generally what, how is the sine curve? Sine curve is in this way, as you are seeing here. Sine curve is in this way. So this is the most popular curve which is used, which is considered for fluctuating loads. In the y-axis we take stress, and on the x-axis we keep time. All right, and on the basis of that we draw the curve of the load, and the most popular model for understanding is the sine curve. So this is, as you can see, this is the particular graph for a fluctuating load. In it, as you can see, in it you can see that there is some mean value, and also there is some, in this graph as you can see, there is some mean value also, there is some mean value as well as there is some maximum as well as minimum value. So what is the maximum value and what is the minimum value? Let's see, let's have a look on that. This value in this sine curve, the minimum value of stress, the minimum value of stress, the minimum value of stress means from here to here. This particular value gives you the minimum stress value, and then after this value of stress, which is maximum, means at this point, this value from here to here, this value is the maximum stress value. And now if you will find the average of the two values, if you find the average of the two values, then the average, how you will calculate? Average means mean value, and how it will be shown? Mean means the middle line, middle line means this, mean means the middle line, middle line means from, this is the mean line. So the stress value, so the stress value from which point to which point? From here to here, from here to here, this stress value is known as sigma m, mean stress. And for calculation, if you want to calculate, how you will calculate? We all know that sigma m means mean or average is taken out by adding and dividing by 2, means this is the maximum stress, this is the maximum stress value plus minimum stress value divided by 2, divided by 2. So this will give you the value of the stress, mean stress. This will give you the value of the mean stress. All right, so this was the graph of the fluctuating stress. Apart from this mean stress, one more thing is there that you should know, and that is the amplitude stress. That is what? That is your amplitude stress. Amplitude stress, you can see here, this is the amplitude stress, means the stress value which is above the mean value, above or below the mean value, the stress value which is above or below the mean value, that gives you the amplitude stress. Means this sigma a from here to here, this will give you the amplitude stress. What is it? It is known as amplitude stress. And for calculation, how it is calculated? For calculation, it is calculated as it is calculated as equal to this sigma a can be calculated. How you will calculate? It is by common sense. You can see from here to here, this complete first of all distance is given by, you will just subtract sigma max and sigma minimum, means sigma max sigma max sigma max minus sigma minimum, sigma max minus sigma minimum divided by 2. This will give you, why we have divided, because we want the value above this mean line. So the value above this mean line will be equal to how much? It will be half of this difference of the maximum and minimum stress value. So in this way, this is the stress amplitude and this is the mean stress, and minimum, maximum, and this you all already know. So keep this in mind. Let's move further into the discussion. Moving into the next slide. Now there are basically three types of mathematical model. There are basically three types of mathematical models for this types of fluctuating stress or repeated stress, or we can say cyclic stress. A common word for such type of stress which is not constant with respect to time, we can say it is cyclic stress. It is you can see that it is in the form of cycle, therefore we say it is the cyclic stress. It is what? It is the cyclic stress. It is the cyclic stress. So what are the three types of mathematical models? First is the same as I have shown to you. First is exactly of the same as I have shown to you, explained to you just now. This is your fluctuating load, means it also has a minimum value of stress, maximum value of stress. It has a mean value of stress, as well as it has a stress amplitude. All right. So this is the first category, fluctuating stress. Then it is also known as alternating stress. Then after, it's the category which in my opinion has been taken out from this fluctuating load itself, is your repeated stress. One is the repeated stress. All right, one is the repeated stress, one is your repeated stress, and the other one is your reverse stress. These two have come out from the fluctuating stress itself. In the case of repeated stress, the stress there is some stress value which is equal to 0, that we will discuss. First of all, the fluctuating or alternating stresses varies in a sinusoidal manner with respect to time. It has some mean value as well as amplitude value. This fluctuating stress fluctuates between two limits, maximum and the minimum stress. The stress can be tensile or compressive, or partially tensile and partially compressive in nature. So you can see the nature, anything above this line, T line, shows that the load is tensile in nature, and below this T line means the stress value, if it will be minus, then the curve will go beyond this timeline. So now moving into the repeated stress. In this repeated stress, in this particular type of fluctuating stress or cyclic stress, you have mean stress, you have the minimum stress equal to 0. As you can see in this diagram also, here this minimum stress at this point, the minimum stress at this point, minimum stress is equal to how much? It is equal to 0. It is equal to 0. All right, it is equal to 0. So this means that repeated stress is a special case in which the minimum stress is 0. Means the load value, the stress value goes to a maximum value, then it comes to 0, then it goes to a maximum value, and then it comes to back again to 0. This happens, there are many examples of fluctuating load, like you can see the suspension spring. The suspension spring is also, whenever is used, is loaded, and when the load is removed, it regains to its original position. So it is compressed and returns to its original position. So in this way, this type of stress that is acting on a spring, that can be considered as a case of repeated stress, in which the stress value goes to a maximum value and then again comes to zero value. So in this case we can say, students, in this case we can say that first the minimum stress is equal to 0, and if minimum stress is equal to 0, then what will happen? Then simply, if you have to find the mean stress, if you have to find the mean stress, it will be equal to sigma max by 2. If you have to find the mean stress, means sigma m, that easily you can find by dividing the maximum stress by dividing the maximum stress by 2. This will give you the mean stress. All right. So the repeated stress varies in a sinusoidal manner with respect to time, but the variation is from 0 to some maximum value. The minimum stress is 0 in this case, and therefore amplitude stress and mean stress are equal. Now one more conclusion can be taken out from it. What is the conclusion? This particular, as you can see, this particular mean stress value and the amplitude stress value both are equal. Both are basically what? Both are equal to each other. Both are equal to each other. All right. You can see these two values, sigma m and sigma a, both are equal to each other in case of what? In case of this repeated stress. All right. So one is that minimum stress is equal to 0, and since minimum stress is equal to 0, therefore mean stress is equal to maximum stress divided by 2. And after that, if the second conclusion that can be taken out is that the amplitude stress, or the stress amplitude, means from here to here, this is equal to the mean stress. Mean stress is from here to here. All right. So this is repeated stress. Coming into the next classification of fluctuating stress, and that is your reversed stress. That is what? That is your reversed stress. That is what? That is your reversed stress. The reversed stress varies in a sinusoidal manner with respect to time, but it has zero mean stress. Now here, what is the special thing? Here the mean stress is 0. Here the mean stress is 0. Mean stress is 0 means the load value or the stress value goes to a maximum tensile, then it returns to 0, then goes to a maximum compression value, then returns to 0, and then again goes to maximum tensile value, then returns to 0, then goes to the maximum compressor value, and so on. So in this way you can see the mean value. In this way you can see the mean value is equal to 0. Now if mean value is equal to 0, if a mean value is equal to 0, this means that the maximum stress and the minimum stress are equal to each other. The maximum stress and minimum stress are equal to each other, but they are of opposite nature. All right. And the second conclusion that you can take is that there is a complete reversal. From tension to compression between these two halves. There is a complete reversal between tension to compression between these halves, and therefore the mean stress is zero repeated stress. Therefore the mean stress is zero repeated stress and varies in a sinusoidal manner with respect to time. So this was your reverse stress. This was what? This was your reverse stress. So basically the three classification. What were the three classification? One was the fluctuating one. One was the fluctuating. So fluctuating stress, repeated stress, and reversed stress. These are the three classification of cyclic stresses. Now moving into the next one, fatigue failure. Now if there is a fluctuating load which is acting on any object, then the failure that will occur due to that fluctuating load after a certain period of time, that particular failure is known as fatigue failure. That failure is known as fatigue failure. You can take an example also. If you take a wire, if you take a wire in your hand and just try to twist it in opposite direction, what will happen? After a certain point of time, that wire will be broken into two pieces. If in this case, if you would have just tried to put tensile load, means if you would have tried to stretch it, extend it with taking in with full power by taking it in both the hands, you would have found that it would not have been broken into two pieces. But when you have applied a small load, but that too in changing its nature, means from the tensile to compressive, and also changing its load value, then in that case, with that small particular load, that material, that particular wire has got failed. So this means that in case of fluctuating load, materials fail very early as compared to its maximum ultimate tensile strength value or its maximum yield strength value. So therefore it is very dangerous. So it has been observed that materials fail under fluctuating stresses at a stress magnitude which is lower than the ultimate tensile strength, of the material. Sometimes the magnitude is even lower than the yield strength. All right. Further it has been found that the magnitude of stress causing fatigue decreases as the number of stress cycles increases. One more thing, if you apply very little load, and if you want to break any material with that particular little load, again you can take the example of wire. If you don't apply much load, if you don't twist it to a larger extent on both the sides, then also it will break, but it will take a larger time. This means that the number of cycles needed for failure, that will be increased if we decrease the magnitude of stresses causing fatigue failure. This phenomena this phenomena this phenomena of decreased resistance of the material to fluctuating stresses is the main characteristics of fatigue failure. This particular nature of fluctuating load, due to which there is a decrease in the resistance of the material to fluctuating load, is the main cause of fatigue failure. Here in the example also you can see, you have taken a wire, you have twisted it on one side. When you have twisted, you see that in this particular direction there is a compressive nature, and in this particular direction there is tensile nature. Then when you twist it on the other side, you see that on this side here it is a positive symbol, means tensile load is here, and on this particular side there is compressive load. Here it is compressive and here it is tensile. Before it, when you have twisted it in the other direction, here it was a compressive nature and here it was tensile nature. Now moving further, fatigue failure is defined as time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. It is the time delayed fracture under cyclic loading. Now there are many examples in which the parts fail due to fatigue failure, like the transmission shaft, connecting rods, gears, vehicle suspension springs, and the ball bearings. Fatigue failure begins with a small crack at some point in the material, and the crack spreads due to fluctuating stresses until the cross section of the component is reduced, that the remaining portion is subjected to sudden fracture. So generally what happens, a small crack is developed first, and that the cross section of particular crack, that increases as the fluctuating load is continuously applied on the material. Now there is one more word related to this fluctuating load, that is the endurance limit. Endurance limit is basically that particular value of fluctuating load that the material can sustain for a particular number of cycles. What are those particular number of cycles? Those particular number of cycles are 10 to the power 6. Means if 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, 10 to the power 6 number of cycle is sustained by a particular component, if a particular component sustains a particular fluctuating load for 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, this means that that particular fluctuating load becomes its endurance limit. That particular fluctuating load becomes its endurance limit. All right. The fatigue or endurance limit of a material, by definition we can say that it is the maximum amplitude, of completely reversed stress that the standard specimen can sustain for an unlimited number of cycles without fatigue failure. Now this unlimited number of cycles means what? This unlimited number of cycles means 10 to the power 6 is considered as the unlimited number of cycles. We have taken a value 10 to the power 6 cycles. If a material can sustain any load for 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, then that particular load becomes its endurance limit. There is also another term which is used with respect to endurance limit also, and that is fatigue life. That is what? That is fatigue life. Fatigue life is also frequently used with endurance limit. What is fatigue life? Fatigue life is defined as the number of stress cycles that the standard specimen can complete during the test before the appearance of fatigue crack. Now if the material is not able to sustain 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, then what are the number of cycles that a material can sustain for a particular load? So that number of cycles becomes its fatigue life. Basically fatigue life is what? It is the number of cycles that the standard specimen can complete before the appearance of the first crack. Generally the specimen that is prepared, students, the specimen that is prepared is of this type. As you can see, this is the specimen. In this specimen you can see that in this specimen the load is applied, and we see that for how many duration this fluctuating load is sustained by this specimen. I will show you in the coming PPT, in the coming slides. I will show you what is the experiment that is performed to calculate the endurance limit. The results, first of all, this particular experiment, this fatigue strength or the endurance limit is obtained by a test which is known as the fatigue test. So the fatigue strength of the material is determined by a test which is known as fatigue test, that is performed on rotating beam fatigue testing machine. This test is performed on rotating beam fatigue testing machine, and in this the surface is polished in axial direction and a constant bending load is applied on it. As you can see in the diagram also, a specimen, this is the specimen which is fixed between the two bearings, which is supported by two bearings. And what happens, we go on changing the load value at the two ends, so that the moment or the load which act on it can be varied or can be increased. So here the weights are applied, we go on increasing the load. As we go on increasing the load, so the fluctuating load acting on this particular specimen also increases, and the number of rotations taken by the specimen before failure, the number of rotations sustained by this particular specimen before failure is counted here by revolution counter. For rotating this particular specimen, there is an electric motor. Alright, and in this way we count the number of revolutions taken by this particular specimen before it gets failed or broken into two parts. This particular test is known as a fatigue test, and it is performed in RR Moore's rotating beam machine. And the diagram which is obtained through this particular experiment is the SN diagram. We will have a extensive study of this SN diagram also, where S represents your stress and N represents your number of cycles. What we do basically what we do, we put a number of cycles on, we put number of cycles on this x-axis, and on y-axis we show the stress value, and we make a graph between these two. We go on decreasing the load, and we see the number of cycles which the material can sustain before failure, and in this way we draw the SN diagram. I will tell you in the coming slides about it. Here you can see a record is kept of the number of cycles required to produce failure at a given stress, and the results are plotted in a stress cycle curve as shown in figure. You can see that here is a figure which is showing you the curve. First we have taken on x-axis number of cycles before failure, and on y-axis we have taken the fatigue stress value, and we have seen that by decreasing the value of the stress, the number of cycles sustained by the specimen increases in this way. These are the failure points. If you draw a line through these failure points, you will get a graph like this. Here on y-axis we have shown these are the number of cycles that the material can sustain. Now if for a particular stress value, particular load value, if the material can sustain 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, then that particular load value, then the load value corresponding to that particular number of cycles, 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, becomes its endurance limit, and it is denoted by SE. It is denoted by SE, means endurance stress, endurance limit. All right, so by this graph you can easily understand. All right, and there is one more term related to this: low cycle and high cycle fatigue. If a material can sustain only 10 to the power 6 number of cycles at a particular load, then that particular that particular thing is known as low cycle. And if a material can sustain more than 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, then we say that it comes under high cycle fatigue. So if we can see that a little consideration will show that if the stress is kept below a certain value, the material will not fail whatever may be the number of cycles. This stress, as represented by dotted line, is known as endurance or fatigue limit, sigma E or SE. It is defined as the maximum value of completely reversed bending stress. What is endurance limit? It is the maximum value of completely reversed bending stress which the polished standard specimen can withstand without failure for infinite number of cycles. 10 to the power, corrected, it is 10 to the power 6 number of cycles. All right. So this is the SN curve which has been drawn by performing the test on rotating beam fatigue testing machine. So what does this test or result show to you? This is a curve between, as I have told you, S and N. But generally what we do, students, we take the log value of S and N. This is why, because if we don't take the log value, then this particular here on x-axis the number of cycles is very, very large. So by taking the log value, for example, here at this point, if the log value here at this point, if the log value here the point, the number of cycles shown by this point is 10 to the power 3, then it becomes 1000, 10 to the power 6 more. So in this way we can reduce by putting the log value. So we take the log of number of cycles on x-axis and log of the stress value on y-axis, and we take the failure points. Wherever are the failure points, these failure points are joined by using a line by using a line in this way. All right, and after 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, if the material can sustain 10 to the power 6 number of cycles, then that particular load value becomes its endurance limit, and that also we have shown by log. All right, so this is the graph SN curve. This particular curve is known as SN curve. The one which you are seeing on the screen is the SN curve of for steel. All right, the SN curve, basically by definition we can say that SN curve is the graphical representation of stress amplitude versus the number of stress cycle. What is SN curve? It is the graphical representation of stress amplitude versus the number of cycles before the fatigue failure on a log graph paper. Each test on the fatigue testing machines give one failure point. As you perform one test, you get one failure point on SN diagram. In practice, the points are scattered in the figure and an average curve is drawn through them. The SN diagram is a standard method of presenting fatigue data. It is a standard method of presenting the fatigue data. Now, what was low cycle and high cycle fatigue? Any fatigue failure when the number of stress cycles are less than 1000. If any fatigue failure occurs when the number of stress cycles are less than 1000, then it is known as low cycle fatigue. All right. And when any fatigue failure occurs when the number of stress cycles are more than 1000, then it is known as high cycle. Then it is known as high cycle fatigue. All right, low cycle fatigue means fatigue failure before 10 to the power 3 cycles, and high cycle fatigue means fatigue failure above 10 to the power 3 number of cycles. Now, what are the examples of these two? Failure of a stud on truck wheels, studs of truck wheels. All right, or the failure of set screws for locating gears on shaft, or failures of short-lived devices like missiles. They all come under low cycle fatigue. And what are the high cycle fatigues? The failure of machine components like ball bearings, all right, like springs, all right, like gears. The failure of such components come under high cycle fatigue. So this particular area before this 10 to the power 3 cycles, this is a low cycle fatigue, and above 10 to the power 3 cycles is the high cycle fatigue. Coming into notch sensitivity. Now there is one more term that is related to fluctuating load, and that is notch sensitivity. Basically, notch sensitivity is defined as the susceptibility of a material to succumb to damaging effects of stress raising notches in fatigue loading. Basically, what happens? Notch sensitivity give you the chances of a material to fail due to if there is a case of fatigue loading, and also there are stress raising notches acting on it. Means if for example let's take the case of a shaft. If for example the shaft has shoulder like this, if for example the shaft is in this way, all right, and the shaft is rotating. Now the load which is acting on the shaft is, if it is varying, means if it is fluctuating load, and at the same time if it is having some stress raising notches like this, in this case there is shoulder. So what will happen? There should be some parameter to understand that what are the chances of its failure. So the chances of its failure are denoted by this notch sensitivity. It is defined as susceptibility of a material to succumb to the damaging effects of stress raising notches in fatigue loading. And if you write its equation, you can say it is generally denoted by Q, and Q is equal to the increase of actual stress over nominal stress divided by increase of theoretical stress over nominal stress. All right, and finally formula, if you will calculate, it will be equal to Kf is equal to 1 plus Q Kt minus 1. Now how this formula has been calculated? So if we go into the derivation part of this particular formula of notch sensitivity, how this has arrived, how we have arrived into this particular formula. See, Kt we all know it is the theoretical stress concentration factor. Kt is basically what? Kt is your theoretical stress concentration factor. And Kt, for calculating Kt, we all know it is equal to what? Maximum stress upon it is the value of maximum stress at that is particular point of stress raising notches divided by the normal stress, means maximum sigma max upon sigma naught. All right, so if we calculate the actual stress, if we calculate the theoretical stress according to this formula at that point of stress raising notches, it becomes Kt into sigma naught. If we calculate the actual theoretical stress at this point, then it will become equal to Kt into sigma naught. Sigma naught is your nominal stress. All right, and now if we consider the fatigue loading, so in this case, what will be the value? It will give you that the actual stress in this case, will be equal to how much? It will equal to Kf into sigma naught. Kf into sigma naught. Now as you can see, if we find increase of actual stress over normal stress, if we try to find out the increase of actual stress over normal stress, it will equal to, in this particular case, in this case of fatigue loading, in this case what will be the increase? You will just minus it by sigma naught. All right, and when you will minus it, what will happen? Sigma naught will come out outside, and inside you will have Kf minus 1. All right, similarly here, if you want to find increase of theoretical stress over normal stress, so here also you will do the same thing, and it will be sigma naught outside, and inside you will have Kt minus 1. So in this way the stress value have been calculated. All right, Kt minus 1 and Kf minus 1. Now what is, if we put these values, increase of stress value, if we put these two values of increase of actual stress over normal stress, then at numerator you will get Kf, sorry, Kt, Kf, sorry, it is actual stress. No, actually means if fatigue loading is there, then case is considered as actual stress. So Kf, all right, Kf, and inside what we will write? At what we will write? No, it is not like this. We will have to keep sigma naught outside. And then inside we have Kf minus 1. And at denominator we will have sigma naught, and then inside we have Kt minus 1. If you will solve it, you will find that you will end up with this particular answer. Kf is equal to, you will end up with this particular answer, that Kf is equal to 1 plus Q Kt minus 1. So this, keep this in your mind, keep this formula in your mind. This is important for you. All right, now this was what? This was your notch sensitivity. Now solving some multiple choice questions, coming into the multiple choice questions part. First, a multiple choice question says you the stress which vary from a minimum value to a maximum value of the same nature, that is tensile or compressive, is called. So we all know that if the stress value vary from minimum to maximum value, such type of stresses are known as fluctuating stress. So this is the correct answer. Coming into the second one, what second one says to you? Second one is saying you that the endurance or fatigue limit is defined as the maximum value of the stress which a polished standard specimen can withstand without failure for infinite number of cycles when subjected to which type of load? Endurance limit is basically, we all know, it is a case of dynamic loading. It is a case of not dynamic, it is a case of completely reversed loading. What we do in rotating beam test specimen, we apply the completely reversed load means whose nature also changes from tensile to compressive as the time changes. So answer D is the correct answer. Coming into the next third MCQ, fatigue of a material is called failure of a material is called fatigue when it fails at. So fatigue failure is the failure when the material fails below the yield point. As I have already told you that in case of fluctuating load, the material fail below the yield point, below its maximum yield point value, yield strength. So D is the correct answer. Now coming into the fourth MCQ, the resistance to fatigue. The resistance to fatigue of a material is measured by. So here the fatigue resistance to fatigue is measured by, we all know that endurance limit gives you the measurement of resistance to fatigue of the material. So here the answer is option D. D is the correct option. Coming into the next MCQ number, coming into the MCQ number 5th. The yield point in static loading is dash as compared to fatigue loading. So the yield point in static loading is what we can say, is it less or it is same or it is higher as compared to fatigue loading? It is higher. The yield point is higher in static loading as compared to fatigue loading. So the option A is the correct option. Coming into the MCQ number 6. The factor of safety for fatigue loading is the ratio of, factor of safety in case of fatigue loading is the ratio of, it is C1, the endurance limit to working stress. Alright, endurance limit to working stress is considered as the factor of safety for fatigue loading. Answer C is the correct option. Coming into the multiple choice question number 7. If the size of a standard specimen for a fatigue testing machine is increased, the endurance limit of the material will, if you increase the size, the endurance of the material C, it will definitely decrease. C is the correct answer. If the size of the specimen you increase for fatigue testing machine, the endurance limit of the material will definitely, it will decrease. So C is the correct answer. Then coming into the next multiple choice question, the residential compressive stress by way of surface treatment of a machine member subjected to fatigue loading. This residential compressive stress, what it does, it improves the fatigue life. It improves the fatigue life. So answer A is the correct answer, that residential compressive stress by way of surface treatment of a machine member improves the fatigue life. Coming into the next multiple choice question, the stress concentration factor is defined as, so what is stress concentration factor? We all know that stress concentration factor is the maximum stress to the nominal stress. So C is the correct answer. C is your correct answer. Then in static loading, stress concentration factor is more serious on, so in case of static loading, stress concentration factor is more serious in case of brittle materials. Alright, because in ductile materials they also work if deformed, if there is any plastic deformation. So A is the correct answer. So these were all the multiple choice questions related to today's lecture. The reference of the books you can take for your self study are these. The content which I have used is from the Design of Machine Element book by V.V. Bhandari of the Tata McGraw-Hill publication. So this was all of today's lecture. I hope you have understood everything. In the coming lectures, we will discuss more on this topic of machine design. Thank you and have a nice day.